this time. It was all good till the love gave in, girl. Yeah. I'll never fall for your type again, girl. Hey, thinking it was my fault. I was trying to give you all you need. Didn't see the blindfold. All them nights, all that time. Can't believe it was all just a game. You really took my heart for a drive. I remember when you were all in for us. I recall when you said you never loved someone like this, telling me lies. You had someone else, now you running back. It was all good till the love gave in, girl. Yeah. I'll never fall for your type again, girl. I know that it's love takes over your mind. Yeah, won't get me this time. Lost trust in a dime. She's seen all the signs. I thought you were mine. I was blind. I remember when you were all in for us. I recall when you said you never loved someone like this, telling me lies. You had someone else, now you running back.
Good morning, John.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Indeed, you are in Singapore. So how is life? How is Singapore today?
It's hot. It's hot every day. The aircon is on. That's the only reason why I can wear a jacket. I thought I'd dress up, and
Absolutely, you look great. So the colleagues who are seeing us today. So I had the great pleasure to host today John King, the president of the APAC business at SoftServe. But John has much more experience than Asia Pac. I think you also work in EMEA and other regions as well. And I would like to maybe talk today more with you about how to do the business in Asia, which might be, you may approach this topic probably from many different angles. I will give it up to you to start with the first one, but I would assume it's not the same like with your previous experiences working in Europe or North America or other regions. So what will be your secrets, John, to share with the audiences? And plus, if you have any questions, please ask them. We can always please bring the question to the screen, and then John will try to answer. Okay? So, John, what might be the few things we'd like to share with this our viewers about how to successfully start the business, because you are a successful business leader?
So, thank you, and thank you for having me on the show, and hi to everybody. The first thing you want to do is know, why are you really coming to Asia? Be specific. There's lots of business everywhere in the world, but if you don't know why you're coming and what you're trying to achieve, if you haven't done the research in the markets and the buyers, then you're going to get lost. There's lots of businesses here because it is the highest growth region in the world, and you will get lost. So be specific on what are you doing, why are you doing it, what can you do in Asia, and what markets are you going to look at. Just to give you a taste of the growth here, though, in our world and the world of technology, you've got two of the highest growth markets in the world. You have Indonesia and Vietnam. You have the second biggest market in the world, Japan. You have mature markets like Korea, like Australia and New Zealand. And then you've got these large capacity markets that have a huge amount of growth to do. For example, Indonesia is 280 million people, and they're a digitally savvy marketplace. Some of the great unicorns have been born out of Indonesia, but there's still a load of work to do there. So you like I said, you want to plan, you want to know which markets you're going to go to, then you know how to deal with them. You'd kind of when we had the little preamble talked about what are the top 5 things, and you'll get a theme here. Culture is king. Excuse the reference to the last name, but culture is everything here, as it is in essence in Europe, and no offense to the American audience, but maybe a lesser part in America, but culture means everything, and these are old and complex societies that have structures of hierarchy in work, structures of hierarchy in family. They have great respect of religious protocols, whether it be breaking for prayer or understanding when people are fasting during Ramadan. So take time to understand and really pay heed to the culture. And I'm going to share with you a story at the end of the top 5 when we learned as a business what that really means. It is like Europe. Asia is a little like Europe. Europe, there's multiple languages, man, a little play, everyone's different, but it's way more complex. It's way more complex than Europe. You don't have a single monetary system, forgetting Brexit and the English. You have different trading and regulatory needs in each country. Some countries don't allow you to operate unless you're contracting with a local entity. So you need to look at local partnerships. So, you can overlay the idea of Europe and doing business in Europe with different languages and different cultures, but then add the complexity that it's not a single trading group, that you will need to consider different legal vehicles to trade in those countries, that you have different visa requirements, et cetera, so it's definitely more complex. Respect the time difference, especially for your employees. I'm a president, but I'm still an employee, and very often people message me at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, or at 11 or midnight, and people expect a response, whether it's from Europe or the US. And you might be spending time with your family, you might be taking clients out, you might be sound asleep, but people kind of forget that the time difference, man, but we're working in Europe, why aren't you there? So always respect the time difference and understand that from your customer's point of view as well. A small problem, if your customers had a small issue from 9 a.m. their time, you might not come online and be able to reference that problem until 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. their time. That small problem has turned into a big problem in that time because they haven't been able to talk to anyone, they've got frustrated. So don't wait, when you wake up, don't go, oh, well, it's a small problem. You got to respect that they've been dealing with it for 6 hours and allow them to vent, allow them to have that time and then deal with it. So, really do respect the time difference. If you're growing, which is why we want to come to Asia, because it's a great growth market, right? If you're growing, make sure that you do hire locally, right? There's incredible talent here. Amazing people, and yes, they work differently. Yes, the way that deals are looked at are different, or the urgency is different. But learn to deal with that, because that local knowledge will accelerate you more than you can imagine. Foreigner in a foreign country, flying in and out, will always just be scratching the surface. And that says also when you're setting up it, don't just fly in and out. Be involved in the market. Come out here for 3 months or 6 months, or however long your family or visa will allow, and get to know your employees here as well. Get to know the way they work. there are different ways of working here. You know, it's you know, an old region, you know, old cultures that have their ways of working. Trying to force them to work in different ways doesn't work. You know, we have to adapt in their region. And then the last of my 5, which sounds stupid, but you know, I said culture is king. Learn a few words in every country you're working in. Learn to say thank you, please. Learn to say good morning, good evening. Learn to say well done. You know, and eat local when you're here. You know, I mean, that's the beauty of living in Asia, right? There's
Absolutely.
such a wide variety of food, and if you can handle spice, man, this place can blow your head off. If you can't, but you know, it's important if you're going to do business here, be part of the culture. Learning a few words shows respect. It is respectful. You know, like when I come to Poland, I always want to know, you know, enough to show respect and to be respectful. Absolutely here, and some of the languages are really beautiful here. You know, one of my favorite sayings or 2 of my favorite sayings in Indonesian, good morning is selamat pagi. It's like you're singing. That is like cool. When you say thank you, when you say terima kasih, the response is sama-sama. And every time I hear sama-sama, it's like, I feel like, man, that's so nice. You know, it's lovely, and it makes all the difference, right? Understanding the food, drinking local coffee. You know, the Vietnamese coffee is amazing, but man, it's strong and sweet, and it like one glass and you're awake for a day or 2 days, depending on how much coffee you drink, right? But why would you go in and order a Starbucks coffee in Vietnam with people? You know, you should go and drink Vietnamese coffee. Remember, in Indonesia, not everyone drinks, so don't arrange things around beers. You know, maybe some cake and tea. You know, we resort to our normal habits, and you know, that's why I say be local, eat local, and learn a few words. So you know, culture is king. It's like Europe, but it's not. So some of the things you've learned in Europe will be useful. Respect the time difference and understand the time difference and the impact of that on people. Hire local, and where you're not ready to, fly in and spend time. Don't fly in for a day, fly out. Don't overbook your schedule. People may want to get to know you. People will want to understand the trust. And then when you are in a local country, eat and be as local as you can. Learn a few words. It means the world, as it does in Europe, even more so here. It shows that, you know, you really want to be part of that market.
So, John, if I ask the question like specifically to you, is when you have moved to Asia, how many years are you already there?
3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yeah.
So, like looking back, what the most important thing you had to unlearn or adjust with you as a John going there? What was the biggest aha moment for you? You said, okay, oh man, I have to work on this.
From business side?
You can choose.
No, I'll give you from business. I know my oh my God, this is a different place moment. We were signing a deal, and it was well over $1 million deal. And you know, our people had already got security access, and we were meeting with the CIO and his team on Friday to organize the work on Monday. So everything was set up. And this was during COVID, so we hadn't had time to meet people and shake hands and get to know each other. And my team had discovered that something had been missed in the customer request, and we decided that, you know, we'd absorb that cost, and, you know, just as a good gesture of partnership. So my sales guy on the call, he's on the call, and he goes, you know, fantastic, we're looking forward. The team are all onboarded. They'd already started some pre-work, and it was great. And then he said, and look, by the way, we noticed this mistake, and, you know, as a gesture, what we've done is we've wrapped it into the piece of work, and, you know, we'll just cover that for free. the call was ended pretty quickly, and then we got a phone call about 5 minutes later, and the contract was being ripped up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the hell happened here? And the way that translated was the mistake we had found. We had exposed someone in front of their hierarchy.
Okay.
And then by saying that we'd do the work for free, we'd insulted them by saying that it was a worthless mistake, that, you know, that we'd made it even more. And what we thought was a great gesture. And we went through and read the emails and saw, in our eyes, this was a perfect response. This was a constructive, positive, we can help response. But that's because we're not sitting in their shoes. We don't understand their culture. You know, this was us looking through our vision. And, you know, that was a real aha moment, that no matter how much you think you know, until you can look at it through the eye of the people, you know, the culture, the country that you're working with, you really know nothing. And you know, we from that day, man, we started cultural training for everyone engaged with any of you know, direct customer engagement, how to read emails and how to write emails appropriately, what different things meant and what could be deemed offensive. And you know, that view that even what you think is the most constructive view can be destructive. And that was a wow. Well, you know, welcome to Asia. And look, I'm sure Americans have that coming to Europe, right? But that was my aha moment. That was like, really pay attention to culture, pay attention to how you communicate. You know, if we'd done it in a different way, that would have been an easy $1 million, $2 million, $3 million worth of work. And instead, that was a broken relationship.
This is amazing. Probably we should maybe even call this stream differently. I was even we discussed like maybe focus more on culture. So John, I think it's a very important comment, and I would like to maybe ask you for advice for those who listen, like not going through the same pain of learning on the business. Is it a recommendation from your side to do something before you will go? Like even having someone locally mentoring you? Is there an association you can ask for help? Is anything like that? Do you know?
There are lots. So again, it depends on where you want to go. So there are lots of associations, and look, WhatsApp groups and you know, depending on the market, LinkedIn groups. Singapore is a very welcoming market. It's designed to be that way. So there are communities, large communities of expats, of overseas groups that you can become part of, that can help you understand more. There are people that maybe have been here for longer times that become frustrated. Ignore them. They're at the end of their cycle, right? When anyone starts coming in, you know, and starting with a complaint, ignore them completely. Don't get caught in that, because if you do, you won't realize the value. You know, they're generally at the end of their life here. You know, they're most generally, they're people close to moving back to Europe, and that's what we discovered. I can't call out any associations by name, and you know, the ambassadors groups. You know, the local communities. There are ambassadors, representatives in each of these locations where they have business communities. You know, we have a French guy that's been here for 20 years. He's still part of the French society here, and they organize business groups and business meetings with government ministers and so on. So it's a great way to see. And then in some of the markets, there are private clubs. where they bring in CEOs, and one of them, we had the Apple designer, the guy who designed the old iPod, Johnny, whatever his name is, came in and talked to a group. So you have to be engaged. Use Facebook and be prepared that WhatsApp will drive your life. Everything here is done by WhatsApp. Right?
Okay. I think you also said at the beginning of this conversation that Asia is very digitally savvy. And just also want to ask you how much influence of this is like simply on the life of the businessmen of the business. And you said WhatsApp is one of those things which is driving the communication. But is there anything else, like be aware going to Asia from the digital perspective? I think the banking is very digitally oriented. Yes, so
it depends on the market, and
okay, again,
be prepared to have 100 different apps.
Okay.
That's one of my guys who came over from Europe was like, how do you survive here with the cost of living? And it's like, well, everything is set up to give you discounts if you use apps, and you have to have 100 different apps to get to realize the value. So there's an app I use to buy beer, there's an app I use to buy wine, there's an app for food, and each app gives me different cashbacks. So if I was to use a single app, I wouldn't get the cashback. I wouldn't realize the discounts. And so be prepared for a complex digital wallet. Be prepared that each country and then each outlet and country has different favorites. It's not like Uber is everywhere, right? It's not. Be very cautious. I got caught out. I took my wife. My wife took me on holiday, and I checked an exchange rate. I was like, man, this place is so cheap. It's amazing. And we got carried away and had a great time. And then I rechecked the exchange rate and I missed a zero. So what I thought was, it was a sizable mistake, missing a zero off. So yeah, always be conscious of just double checking, because some of the exchange rates are hundreds of thousands to one. So you can get confused easily. So yeah, be prepared for lots of apps and just double check and triple check the exchange rates and how people present the numbers in the diagrams, because sometimes when it's 100,000, they miss off the 3 zeros. That's a very bad mistake to make.
And John, you decided and you chose to stay in Singapore once you moved. Yes, was it your first country, first location, first country, city when you moved to Asia?
It's my first country city. I think the only other one is, I guess there's Monaco and maybe Luxembourg, but I haven't lived in either of those. But yeah, Singapore's awesome. I have a young family. It's safe. You can leave your wallet on the table, and your wallet will still be there if you get up and walk away. My daughter plays in the park. I have no fear. At worst, someone will come and give her a sweet and want to play with her. That's it. It's a great travel hub.
Just want to ask, is like the Singapore the best place to go to start, like understanding, going to different places?
It depends. It all depends on what you want to get out. I love Singapore. So Singapore, we've established a head office, and it's a great way to service multiple countries. It really is, for us, the hub of Asia. And it's easy access to Australia and New Zealand and great airport, right? But it really depends. If you want to go and live in a fast growth market, Vietnam is welcoming. There's lots going on there. We've just had a business friend move his family from Singapore to Malaysia. He's now the country head of AWS for Malaysia. There's lots going on in all these countries. They're big countries. Vietnam is 100 million people. Like I said, Indonesia is 280 million people. They're big markets. Japan is a really interesting market. There's big communities of expats in Japan and Korea. Australia and New Zealand is a bit further away in their dream countries, but they're not truly Asia. But yeah, I love Singapore. I'm biased. I'm pretty happy.
Just like when you just mentioned the list of the countries, is more or less half of the planet. Yes, is already considered as part of the Asia Pac, which is really, really, really massive.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And the diversity in language, food, beaches, cities. Tokyo is so different to Bangkok. It's cool. You can have such a diverse experience within 5 to 7 hours.
Maybe, John, last question. You are today 3 years in Asia, in Singapore. If you have to go somewhere else tomorrow, is there any other better destination from the business and private life perspective for you?
I have to take into consideration my family, Sebastian.
Of course.
And that's hard. Before we moved to Singapore, we were living in Spain, and Spain was pretty special. Where would we want to go next if we go somewhere else? I don't know. We see our future in Singapore for a while longer. So we haven't, I haven't really thought about it. So, I love the food in Spain. I love the beaches. The wine's good. But it gets harder, with a young child, it gets harder to jump around too much. I got to say, look, Asia's pretty exciting right now. It's the market, there's a high growth market, adoption of technology, a digitally savvy population, a welcoming population, or populations. We haven't really thought about anywhere else. So, the view is right now, is there anywhere better or anywhere I'd rather, I'd live otherwise? No.
Perfect. John, many thanks for coming. Thank you very much for your time. And one of the huge, I think, benefits of being in Singapore, you don't need any fancy wallpapers on the Teams, because your view outside the window is already quite epic. So that's one of the benefits, definitely. It was great to see you and hear from you about the business in Asia. If I'll probably summarize in one sentence, the first thing definitely to focus on is culture. Otherwise, you can lose a lot of opportunities and don't be successful as a business leader.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to those out there listening. I hope it was useful. And if there's anything I can do to help personally, please reach out to me.
Thank you so much, John. Have a great day. Many thanks for coming, and see you for those who are attending those sessions. See you in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.